Hey there, this is Katie from the Health, Wellness, and Chocolate Podcast, and I wanted to talk to you today about a couple things. First is, I know this past week has been a busy holiday week for a lot of us, right? Either you celebrated Passover or perhaps you celebrated Easter. And there may have been opportunities to overeat or have food that you normally don't have. And so what I wanted to do is just talk to you about this black and white thinking, right? Like this all or nothing, like, okay, I was eating really well, but this past week there were so many extra treats and so many extra little get-togethers, and there was lots of wine, and now I totally blew my eating plan, and I think I just won't really worry about it anymore until the kids are out of school, right? Or something along those lines. Like, are you telling yourself, man, I blew it, I can't do this, this is so stupid, this is too hard, and then you're like wanting to throw the towel in. So what I wanted to talk to you today was this idea of like living in black and white and being either perfectly perfect and on point with your eating plan, or you're the complete opposite and you're being perfectly terrible and eating everything in sight, right? There is a happy medium. And I hope you take what I say into consideration going forward. And here's the thing. This past year has been really weird. And even this time last year when it was Passover and Easter, everybody was in lockdown. And I don't really know of anybody that actually got together last year. So this is the first time in 2 years that maybe there was food that only comes around this time of year that you really wanted to have. It's wonderful to get together with family. There is a place and time for feasting, right? And this was one of those places and times. So it is a part of life to have a feasting day. And so you having that extra treat or that, extra glass of wine or that extra piece of cake or the piece of cake or whatever it is, I don't want that to derail you. I want you to have said, I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad I enjoyed myself. I'm glad I enjoyed my time with my family. We realize now more than ever that those times are precious. And there is a time and place for feasting in our lives. Feasting is a part of our culture, right? The problem is where the unbalance comes in, where it's only feasting that is how you celebrate, how you enjoy life, how you, it shouldn't be the only thing in life that you celebrate with, okay? There are so many ways to celebrate, and certainly feasting and gathering and eating and breaking bread, like that is totally part of what you should do, right? That is normal. But what becomes abnormal is when that's the only thing you do, or that's like what you do all the time. Like that's the only way you feel joy. That's the only way you celebrate, is when you're overeating or over drinking or feasting, but it's all the time, right? Like, oh, that's the only joy I get in life is this feasting. That's when it becomes a bit of unbalance and a problem. All right. So what I want to encourage you today is let it go. Be like, you know what? I realize now more than ever how short life is and how special these times are that I have with my family, that I have with my friends. And, if I wanted to have that dessert that my Aunt Betty makes only, once a year, I'm glad I had it. It was so delicious. It's as good as I always remember it. I'm glad I tasted it and savored it. And I'm glad I had it. Right? And then let it go. Don't make it mean like, oh, I'm a failure. I have no willpower. This eating plan is stupid. I can't stick to it. I don't know why I bother. Like all the things we tell ourselves, right? Don't make it mean that. Make it mean like I'm a human and yesterday was a feasty day and I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad I participated fully in my life. Okay? The part that isn't good is when you take the rest of the whole cake home and you're going to feast on that now for the rest of the week, because forget it, you've fallen off the wagon and it's just like party time now, right? You don't want to do that. Like there's a time and a place for feasting, but the feasting ends. And then like real normal life resumes. And so, if say you got in extra treats to take home because you felt guilty or you didn't want it to go to waste, understand that if it's more than your body needs, but you still eat it, it is still being wasted. Okay, right? The definition of waste is when something is not being used for what it's supposed to be used for. So if you have taken home maybe the extra cake that your Aunt Betty makes, then you can't throw it away, right? Because it's only so rare and you feel bad about throwing it out, but you don't really want it, or maybe you really do want it, but like you really shouldn't have it, and now you have this and you feel like, I can't waste it. That would be such a waste. Understand that eating it is also wasting it, right? But instead of you throwing it out, now it's being wasted because it's stored in your fat cells and you're carrying it around and you have the extra health problems because of all that extra food that you've eaten because you didn't want to waste it. It is being wasted. It's being wasted on you. So consider getting rid of leftovers that are not going to help you cross the finish line with your health goals. So the extra cake or the extra dessert or the extra eggs that have the chocolate, and if they're not going to help serve you, it's okay. I mean, you could donate them. You could find a place if it really bothers you, or you can just throw them out. It's up to you. But don't hang on to something thinking, well, I can't waste it. Because honestly, if you are consuming it and it's more than your body needs, it is wasting, and it's actually harmful to you as opposed to just throwing it out and wasting it, right? Either way, it's going to get wasted. So just make it a choice where it's not hurting you at all. Okay. And then let it go. Don't hold on to this idea like, oh, I can't believe I overate. Like my grandma, when she was alive, she used to make, part of my heritage is Italian. And so she would make this thing called a pizza Jane, and it's like a meat pie. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's basically every single processed Italian meat you can think of. And it's, cooked inside, scrambled eggs or like this egg, like custard, but not sweet. It's like it's meaty, and then it's covered over with a dough, and it's surrounded by dough. I mean, it's fantastic, right? But it's like a once in a year splurge. So if you had some, and I hope you enjoyed it, I didn't actually have any this year. It's like something we actually only have on Easter, but no one made it this year. But like, so you say you have it, like you don't have to take the rest home because you don't want it to go to waste, right? Because if you eat that, it's very rich and it's really dense and high in calories. So like if you eat it, it is going to be wasted. It will be wasted on you. And it'll be, it's not like going to help you hit your health goals by having it because you feel guilty that you're going to be wasting it. So let's stuff like that go, if you can. But also don't think in terms of like, okay, well, I ate off my food plan and I know next weekend is a birthday party, and then we've got, end of year picnics and graduations and all these other like, I'll just start, thinking about this again in the summertime. I want to caution you because like, don't derail or throw off all the progress you've made up to this point, or all the changes that you have been making, because of one day or one meal, or even just because of like a 3-hour window, right? Like, let it go. And even if next weekend there's another 3-hour window where you're going to overindulge, plan for it, right? Maybe try not to overindulge, but if you do, again, like, don't let it keep you from trying to have the long end game in mind, rather than this all or nothing mentality where like, well, if I can't be perfect, I'm going to eat everything. Or if I can't eat my food plan the way I want to, well, I'm going to have a whole lot more food then, right? Like, don't sabotage yourself that way. Be like, I indulged and that was delicious, but I'm right back at it now. And it doesn't mean anything about me other than I liked what I had, and that's okay. Right? Give yourself grace to like live in the gray rather than this all or nothing mentality, because living in the gray might not get you there as fast as being absolutely perfect, but you'll have more success in the long run than being like absolutely perfect or absolutely terrible, right? Like in this black and white thing. So that's what I wanted to encourage you about for that. Now, the next part is what I wanted to talk to you about today too, was this idea of being a thermostat or a thermometer. And really, a thermostat or a thermometer is really just something that I want to use for either being a reactor or being proactive in your life. And this kind of does follow along with, did you overindulge? And now what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to react to the circumstances that happened this past week? So, if you struggle with your weight, you are probably a reactor, or what I call a thermometer. And really, a lot of people who yo-yo diet and a lot of people who do struggle with their weight, we are more sensitive, and Dr. Gould actually says like we almost have an allergic reaction, like we almost feel more than other people feel when you kind of like struggle with your weight. And the reason is that you just tend to be a more emotional reader than other people, right? Or that we react to other people's emotions, other people's pain, and other people's feelings as if they're our own. So not only are we like managing our own emotions, our own pain, our own stress, we also think we're responsible for everybody else's as well. And so it's almost like, not only do we feel like we are responsible for all their emotions and stuff, but we also like hate it at the same time. Like we hate feeling responsible for it, but we almost can't help ourselves. And so we react like a thermometer would react to the outside air, the circumstances around us. That's how we would react the same, right? We react to what's going on around us as opposed to a thermostat, which just has an internal, internal compass in it. And like if the temperature goes up, it'll turn the cooling air on. If the temperature goes down, it'll kick the heat on, but it just stays at constant, steady temperature. Okay. So, you may feel like if you are someone who yo-yo diets a lot, or someone who you may not even recognize yourself as an emotional eater, but you may feel like you do react and do read into a lot of people's behavior, their emotion, their feelings, their pain. Like we are creatures that attach a lot of meaning to things, right? So if someone says hi to us, we make it mean something. If someone doesn't say hi to us, we make it mean something. If people get invited somewhere and we don't, we make it mean something. If we do get invited somewhere, we make it mean something, right? Like we attach meaning to a lot of things. And so we attach meaning to people's behaviors and what they do. And so if you're the type of personality that feels over responsible for everybody and everything, your body and especially your brain is going to tell you it's going to help you dial down those emotions by telling you need to go eat something, because that is the habit that it learned. I hope by now you understand this. Like that is the habit. That is a neural pathway that your brain has created to respond to any unpleasant emotion. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you happy. So it's created this neural pathway that says, okay, anytime that you feel uncomfortable, you're going to go eat, because that will help you feel better. Okay. So when you're the type of personality then that feels over responsible for people's happiness, for their emotions, for their feelings, for their pain, your hunger switch would probably be turned on, or your hunger dial, right, might be turned up, okay? You might also be someone who tends to people please, because the thought of maybe people not liking you, or, maybe judging you harshly, it might terrify you, right? Because you don't want to think of people thinking of you in an unjust way. So you may compromise, maybe your internal values or your internal thoughts, because you want people to like you. Okay, so you may say things or do things that compromise your integrity, and that turns on your hunger switch for you. Okay, you may allow outside circumstances to dictate your mood, or your anxiety levels may go up. Like you may be a daydreamer and spend a lot of time creating scenarios in your brain of things that could possibly happen. And because your brain is so powerful, if you're thinking of all these catastrophic thoughts of things that could happen, all of a sudden your body is reacting to like a stress event that isn't even real or actually happening, but your body is releasing the cortisol. It's like doing all the things, and your anxiety levels are going up, and so your brain's like, you need some dopamine to feel better and help reduce this stress, so go eat something. Your brain is so efficient, but the whole answer is like, just go eat something, right? So you have to really kind of guard these thoughts that you have, and not allow your brain to kind of run away with all these different scenarios with everybody else's emotions, right? You almost have to like play your position and be very much careful about the thoughts you allow to go through your head. Another thing may be, you may also often feel like a victim, right? Like maybe you get taken advantage of a lot because you don't set boundaries for yourself. So, you may find yourself saying, how did this happen to me again? I cannot believe I have to do this again. Like, how is this possible? Why does this always happen to me? Okay. Do you find yourself saying that a lot because you're just reacting instead of thinking, or you're people pleasing and you don't want to say no? So you find yourself in all these situations that you don't want to be in, but you don't want to say no. And then you compensate by overeating to make yourself feel better. And it doesn't even have to be overeating a lot. It could just be, let me just go grab a handful of chocolate chips. That'll help me feel better. But you do that often enough, and it's still more than your body needs. And you either won't be losing weight or you will be actually gaining weight, right? So you may have trouble setting boundaries for yourself or for other people too. And saying no, especially if you're a people pleaser, no is like a 4-letter word to you. And you don't think they would possibly like you if you said no and set up a boundary. Perhaps you promise yourself tomorrow will be different. But then again, something happens, something occurs in your life, and then, you'll turn to food to eat to feel better. And then you feel like you're back to square one, right? You use food to cope with frustration or the disappointments in life. And you frequently feel as if life happens to you, as opposed to you being an agent of your own life. You feel like you're constantly just reacting to life around you, and like you don't have control. You're only reacting to like what's happening around you, as opposed to you affecting life. You're just reacting to life. So you mostly deal with the urgency of life and reacting to the urgency rather than being someone who is impactful in their life and making a difference. You're really just like treading water, or you even maybe feel like you're drowning. And who wants to feel that way, right? Like you're always just answering the urgent as opposed to having a plan in place and moving forward strategically. You're just constantly responding, or actually you're constantly reacting instead of responding. Okay. So maybe this also sounds like you. Your house may be disorganized. The bills might often be late because you lost them. Like you have no filing system in place. You actually have no systems in place, right? Like you find the bill wherever when the mail came in, and it came in a few weeks ago, and there's just a huge stack on the counter, and there's no filing system. It's just that's where the mail goes, and that's it, right? So again, it's like you're just reacting like, oh my goodness, it's the beginning of the month. Did I pay the bills? Let me see if there's any I missed. Like what let me look in this big pile of papers and make sure there's nothing I missed, right? So your house would be disorganized. The bills are often late. And then being late like that, it often compounds the stress. And it definitely contributes to that feelings of drowning. And you really wonder, like, am I ever going to make it to the end of the day? Never mind, like, thinking about the end of the week or the month or the year. Like, you really can't see past just what's right in front of you. And you just, like, you can't even seem to think, like, how can I get a grip on this? Like, it's just constant, like, bombardment from all sides of things going on. And you spend a lot of time maybe on social media. And maybe that is actually part of your problem too. Like you spend a lot of time on social media commenting on other people's posts, and you hope to influence them and win them to your opinion. But then you often feel frustrated, like at the external world in general. And so you often feel like you're super busy, but you're not productive, right? You think, like, you kind of tell yourself this lie, like, oh, I'm so busy today, I have so much to do, but like maybe you don't accomplish much, or what you're doing really isn't productive. You're just like treading water. So you're really only answering the urgent. You're actually not making any headway in the progress of your life. Okay. So that would be like what a thermometer would do. So if you're like a thermometer personality, you may not have all of these. These are broad generalizations, but I want to see, like, if I've tried to give you a lot of examples so that you can maybe extrapolate 1 or 2 instances of where you are a thermometer. Right. And the whole goal is to not be a thermometer. We don't want to be a reactor. We want to be a thermostat. We want to be a constant, steady, stable person. We don't want to have what's happening externally dictate to us how we're responding or how we're reacting to things. Right. We just want to respond. Like, we want to have like a steady goal. And regardless of what happens, we have a plan in place to counter that. Because we know, right, like a thermostat knows the temperature is going to go up, or the temperature is going to go down, and it has a plan in place for when either event happens. And so it's always steady. Okay. It doesn't worry. It doesn't stress. It doesn't take time. Like it says, okay, I expected this to happen and now I know what to do. Right. We can be like that in our lives, right? You can plan for, especially when you're trying to lose weight, the life will come against you, right? Like the life is going to have its ups and downs. And so it will affect you sometimes. But knowing that, instead of reacting and being surprised and shocked, it's like, oh, I knew this was going to happen, and this is what I'm going to do because this is what I planned on doing when this event happened. So let me give you an example. Say one of the kids gets sick. And rather than it like, oh, I have to run to the doctors and I have to go to the thing. And, you have all these things now you have to do that you weren't planning on doing. And so instead of being able to go food shopping and maybe do all your food prep that day, now all that spare time that you had has to go to driving down to the doctor, sitting in the waiting room, taking care of the baby or the kid that's sick or whatever, right? Like your whole day, what you had planned, now fall through the cracks. But you know what? We know that was going to happen, right? People get sick, emergencies happen. So what would our plan be? Well, you can have a list of fast and easy meal ideas that you have on hand so that your eating isn't compromised. So you could say, okay, when life gets super busy, I have 4 frozen dinners in my freezer and I know I can pull one out. All I have to do is microwave it or heat it up in the oven. We will have a healthy, nourishing meal. I don't have to stress, right? Like you could be proactive in that way. Or you could say, you know what? I knew this was, when things like this happen, I'm going to grab a rotisserie chicken and a salad kit from the store and we're going to have roasted chicken chopped up in a beautiful garden salad. And maybe I'll make some popcorn and that's dinner, right? Like something quick and easy, right? Like it doesn't always have to be so crazy. You can just say, okay, when life gets busy and I don't have time to cook, these are the 5 things that I'll have either on hand or be able to pick up and have, and we could still eat healthy and nourishing. And then maybe you don't have that except for those times. But rather than being like, oh, I can't believe this happened. I don't know. I'm never going to get this done. Like, don't be surprised when the storms of life happen. Have a plan for them. And then that way you're not just reacting to the urgency. You have plans in place and you can be that thermostat. Like, oh, I knew this was going to happen and this is my plan for that, right? So maybe it is, when I deal with uncomfortable people and I know I'm going to feel stressed and want to eat. What else can I do that will make me de-stress just as good and make me feel just as good as maybe eating would, but it's not consuming calories I don't need, right? And then come up with a plan for that. So maybe for you, it's, I really like watching a funny comedy. So that'll be my plan. When I'm stressed and I really feel like I can't do one more thing, I can watch a funny comedy and I'll feel better. And I know that'll make me feel better. I know I don't need to turn to food. Or maybe it's, I'm going to go for a walk for a little bit and decompress. Or maybe it's taking some breathing exercises or something. But like, don't be surprised when the storms of life happen and derail you from your health goals. Be like, oh, I was expecting this to happen. This isn't a surprise. I knew this is part of life. This is my response for it. And then you can really take time to think and plan ahead, okay? So like I said, a thermostat knows what to do. It's set at a temperature, and if it goes above it, it kicks on the cool air to help cool it down. If the temperature drops below the set temperature, the heat will kick on and warm it up. And so it's constant. There's no drama. It just knows what to do. It has this plan in place, okay? It's a steady constant regardless of the external factors. The external factors are still happening, but it knows what to do. It's not just reacting to them. It's like, okay, I can respond and then I can move on with my life. So it doesn't look around to decide how it should respond to these external circumstances. It just checks in with itself and sees what it needs and then reacts and responds accordingly. So it's never urgent or hurried. It's steadfast. It knows what its job is, as opposed to just answering the urgent. It has a plan in place, right? It doesn't wonder, why did the temperature go up? I can't believe this happened to me. Why is this happening to me? It's like, oh, I know the temperature does go up. Let me kick on the cool air. Or, oh, it's getting chilly out. Let me kick on the warm air, right? It expects the storms of life and it has a plan in place and then it prepares for it. So there's no drama. And that reduction of drama and just having that plan in place really helps with your emotional ability, it doesn't eat away at the emotional energy reserves that you have and the mental reserves that you have. And I've said this before, when you only have so much emotional energy in your life every single day, and when you use it up, that's it. And so once it's used up, your brain has learned over the course of however many years that like when it feels like it's been used up, it will turn to food to feel better. Okay. What you want to do then is preserve your emotional energy by not making so many decisions, by not reacting so much, but understanding, okay, this is life. I know life sometimes is going to get crazy. This is my plan for the crazy. When it's flu season in my house, I know some of my kids are going to get sick. I have soup frozen in the freezer. So when life is crazy or a stomach bug hits, I don't have to spend time cooking. We can just reheat some delicious soup that's nourishing and full of good food for them. I can just reheat that and it's taken care of. And that's something I don't have to stress about. We'll be fed and we'll be nourished. But I don't have to be like, oh my goodness, should we just get takeout? Should we spend all that money? Right? Like it's not this, there's no drama. The decision's already been made and then that's it. Okay. So I wanted to leave you with that information just so you can take it. If you had a week of indulgence and overindulgence, give yourself grace, let it go. Be happy it happened, right? Like you enjoyed it. Life is worth living. There are days for feasting. And like life, food was meant to be delighted in and enjoyed. But when it's the only enjoyment and the only thing you delight in, that's where the imbalance comes in. So have a plan in place for feeling better that doesn't include food. Understand that chaos and external things happen. You don't have to react to them. You can just say, okay, when life kind of takes a sideways turn, this is my plan. And that's how you handle it, right? Rather than turning to food to feel better and to just respond, you have a plan in place for helping yourself feel better without needing to turn to food. Or when you feel depleted, you have like, okay, I know, this specific time of my life is going to be really crazy. What can I do to safeguard against that, to make sure that my health goals stay at the forefront of my mind, and then I can make sure I hit those health goals without needing to compromise myself, right? They can still be hit without me having to go crazy and reinvent the wheel every time life happens and be surprised by life happening and being a little bit crazy. All right, so I hope you found this helpful. If you are listening to the podcast and you can give it a review, I know the podcast is relatively new, but I would love for you to subscribe to it. And if you could leave an honest review if you found this helpful and you liked it, or even please share this. I would love for more people to be able to find out more about me and more about the freedom from food. And if you had found this helpful and you want to deep dive into more of these tools and more of these thoughts that I give you to help rethink how you eat, definitely check out the Health and Wellness Blueprint at healthwellnessandchocolate.com. I have an offer. It's only $1. You could try it for 7 days to see if you like it. You get 9 foundational videos, plus the user manual workbook, plus the ebook, How to Eat Like Your Skinny Friends, which is like way more than you can possibly even consume in the 7 days, but you can at least know if you like what you learn or not. And then if you want to go deeper and spend some more time with me, you can fully join. But after 7 days, your access just goes away. So there's no like long-term commitment. You don't have to worry about canceling a credit card or anything. You sign up, you get the access, you check everything out. And then after 7 days, your access just goes away. Or you can continue to work with me. I offer a really nice coupon and a nice discount for the people that at least spend the $1 and check it out. All right. So thank you so much. I look forward to getting to know you better. You can always email me at katie@healthwellnessandchocolate.com. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.